Okay, so for number 10, first step is to get that radical alone, right? So I have to add the 13. Oh, this is pretty easy then, actually. So this is going to be over here now. So it's the fourth root of 4x equals negative 2. Since that's even, can we get a real answer? No. Now, with square root, we could get, an I in it, right? But with the fourth root, we couldn't. If it was a cube root or a fifth root, an odd, we could do it. All right, so that's why there was no real solution, because you can't take the fourth root of the negative. All right. If it was square root, we put what? I radical 2 plus or minus. We can pull the I out when it's square root and it's a negative. Okay. Any others you want to go over on the homework? Okay. So let's just do number 9. I'm going to have to subtract 7. So I get 2, and I'm going to move that over so we can see it there. All right, so I'm going to move that over here. So it's 2, and it's the fifth root of x equals 8. And then divide by the 2 also. So get the radical part isolated by itself. Okay, now how do I get rid of that fifth root? What do I got to do to both sides? What if it's square root? What do I do to both sides? Square both sides, right? So if it's fifth root, I want to raise it to the fifth power, both sides. So those cancel, and whatever 4 to the fifth is, that's a big number. Four caret 5. 1024. Okay? This was pretty easy last night, wasn't it? And then this one was the one that was a little bit tougher because we had to square both sides. But remember, it's x minus 10 times x minus 10, all right? So the 44 minus 2x, when I square the square root, those cancel, right? And then x minus 10 times x minus 10 is you square the x. X times negative 10 is negative 10x, but there's 2 of them. Double it, that's negative 20x. And then negative 10 squared is positive 100. Now bring the 44 over, and the 2. So you can set it equal to 0. It's a quadratic equation now. Okay? So I got my 0, I got my x squared, negative 18x, and what's that? 56? 56. Okay, so are there factors of 56 that add up to negative 18? 14 and 4? X minus 14, x minus 4. Remember, that equals 0. So if I set x minus 14 equal to 0, what's that answer? 14. X minus 4 equals 0, what's that answer? 4. So I got to check it, though. So we're thinking 14 or 4. 2 times 14 is 28. 44 minus 28 is 16, I think. What's the square root of 16? 4, right? And what's 14 minus 10? 4. So that worked, right? So 14 worked. That was good. We put 4 in here. 2 times 4 is 8. 44 minus 8 is 36. The square root of 36 would be 6. And 4 minus 10 is negative 6. Are they equal? No. So the 4 didn't work. So 14 was the only answer for number 50. Okay? We good? Any questions?
If one works, do you have to try the second one?
I would, just to make sure. Every now and then they'll both work. That's a good question. A lot of times it's only been one, right? But there's always that chance, so I would just make sure. Serenity, you got this? Got them all right, huh? Good job. All right, today we're doing the same thing, but we're doing inequalities. Okay? Which is, and we're doing some rational exponents too. Okay? So, you guys know that these are equal, right? We've talked about this. Right? The fractional exponent, the denominator is the index, the numerator is the exponent. Remember? Okay. So it says we're going to have rational exponents. That's these things, right? Fractions. You can solve the equation using a procedure similar to the one for solving radical equations. In this case, first isolate the power. So, we're going to isolate the x to the power, all right, and then raise each side of the equation to the reciprocal. Okay? What did I do to both sides if I had the square root? I would do what? Right? What's reciprocal of 1 over 2? 2 over 1. That's squaring it, right? Cube root, what do we do to both sides then? If we wanted to get rid of the cube root, we cubed both sides, right? What's the reciprocal of 1/3? 3 over 1. We're cubing, okay? So instead of looking like this, like last night, radicals, some of them will be like this with fractions, rational exponents. We're just going to use the reciprocal, okay? So this one's 3/4, okay? Again, we want to isolate this 2x because that's being raised to the power. So I have to take the 2 over first, like we were doing yesterday. Okay. Now, since that 2x is in parentheses, it's isolated. If it was just, this is different. I'd still divide by 2 in this one on the right. I'd have to do this. And then it would be x to 3/4 equals 4. But since that's in parentheses, that means the 2 and the x are raised to that power. So I'm going to go to the what power now? 4/3, yeah. So that leaves me, those cancel, so that leaves me 2x. And then in my calculator, I just go 8, caret, and then put 4/3 in parentheses when you do it. Okay? Come on back. Today. There we go. So parenthesis, and then 4 divided by 3, and it'll give you an answer. 16. Okay? So 2x equals 16. Now divide by 2. Just finish it. And you get 8. Okay? Get that right, Pine? Makes sense? Questions? All right. Let's look at B. All right, so the parenthesis part is raised to the power. There's nothing else with it, so I don't have to take anything to the other side. So what do I do to both sides? Square, right? 2 over 1, which is squaring it. So this is just x plus 30 equals x squared. Well, I got an x squared in it. So like last night, I have to set it equal to 0 before I can solve it. So I'm going to take the x and the 30 over with the x squared. I like the x squared to be positive. So that's why I took these from the left to the right. Some of you might have wanted to take that x squared over to the left. But then when we try to factor, that's what I like to do, which this will factor. It's tougher to factor when the x squared is negative. Okay, so that's why I like to leave it positive. What factors of negative 30 add up to negative 1? What times what is negative 30? Added is negative 1. 5 and negative 6, right? So what's the x plus 5 answer? Negative 5. The x minus 6? 6. All right, we should check them. 6 plus 30 is 36. What's square? This is square root 1/2, right? What's square root of 36? 6. That worked, right? Negative 5 plus 30 is 25. What's the square root of 25? 5. Is it negative 5? No. So the negative 5 didn't work. Okay? We didn't check A. We probably should have. Let's see. What's 2 times 8? 16, right? What's 16 of the 3/4? I bet it's 8. Let's see. 16, 3 divided by 4. Yeah, 8 plus 2 is 10. It works. Okay? So we should check them. I forgot about doing that. I'm in a hurry. I want to get this done for you guys. Those two make sense? Okay. Inequalities. Do the same thing. All right? Except there's one extra step. Same thing as last night, but there's one extra step.
I didn't know it was Riley's schedule.
What's that?
If you then a lot of people.
Oh, because you come in second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the first step is to isolate the radical. So what do I have to do with the 3? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Divide, right? This is 3 times that. So I got divide. Now remember, if that was a negative 3, what would we have to do with our inequality sign? Flip it, right? But it wasn't, so we didn't have to do that. But remember, when you're doing inequalities, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you're going to flip the inequality symbol. Now what do we do to both sides? Square, right? Which is x minus 1, 16, and then add 1. Now, since it's square root, okay, what kind of numbers are we not allowed to have under the radicand, or the radical sign, I guess, when we have even in negatives, right? No negatives. So what I have to do is I have to take this and make sure it's greater than or equal to 0. Okay, because it can't be a negative. It could be 0 or a positive. So that's why it's greater than or equal to 0. And so my answer is all x values greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 17. So the answer I could write like this. Okay? Nope, I did that wrong. Sorry. The 1's here. 17's over here. Sorry. All right, if you look, x, the inequality symbol is pointing towards the x when it's with the 17. And when I got the 1, the inequality symbol is pointing towards the 1, right? So if you have an even index on inequalities, you got to make sure it's 0 or positive. So greater than or equal to 1, because that was an even index. It was a 2. You just don't write the 2. So that was an extra step to the inequality ones. Everything else is the same as yesterday. Okay? And if you wanted to, we could check the graph of this. Let's move this over here. All right. So just put 3 square root, second squared, and then x minus 1, parentheses. All right. And the other one's 12, right? So we want, where is this graph, and that's the one that's going to show up first because I typed it in first, going to be less than that, okay? Meaning underneath it. All right, so since my y is 12, right, is it going to show up in my 10 by 10 picture? No, okay? It's not going to show up. So I'm going to hit my window. I'm going to leave my my x's the same. My y's, since I know my y is got to be positive, this stuff, I'm just going to go from 0, oops, not 1, but 0, and I'm going to go up to 20 since I know that's 12, all right? When I hit graph, there's the first one, and then there's that 12. Okay, so it looks like I got to go further. Actually, I got to go how far to see where they hit? 17. So if I do my window for my, let's do this for my X-Men. Let's go from 0 to 20. We'll go to 25. And then we'll be able to see them intersect. There we go. All right. So from 1, see where the 1 is there? And this would be 17 up there. That part is under the 12. So that's like a visual of what's happening there. Okay. If I looked for the intersection, you could go second trace, intersect number 5. Just hit enter 3 times, first curve enter, second curve enter, guess enter, that'll be 17. See that? 17x, 12 for y. So there's a picture of that answer too. There was the 1. That was the 1. And that was 17 for x. Or for y, sorry. Or no, it was the x, sorry, my bad. The y was 12. Okay, so you can do a little picture to check. All right, this one. What do I got to do first to isolate the radical? Add 3, thank you. Is the radical isolated yet? No, so what do I do with the 2? Divide, good. Oops, x. Now what? Square, right? So x is greater or equal to 9, right? And here it's just x has to be great. Since it's square root again, even, greater than or equal to 0. All right? So if I did a picture of that, two, let's clear that out. 2 square root of x. Close it off. Minus 3. And then this is 3. This one we should be able to see without messing with stuff. Okay. Now we're looking at greater than this time, right? So we're looking at where is it above the 3? So it's from 9 up there is above the 3. See that? So my only answer, I can't do 2 of them. It's just this one is where it works for the whole thing. All right, so the first one, it was between 1 and 17. This one was not between 0 and 9. It was actually greater than 9, where it was bigger than 3. Okay? So your calculator can help you look at it too to make sure you get the right answer. I think that's it. Let me see. Oh, there's another one. This was a cube root. Okay, so what am I going to do to both sides once I do what first? Divide by the 4. But instead of squaring both sides this time, just like last night, what do I got to do? Got to cube both sides. So I get x plus 1, and that's 8. Oops, it's not equals. Sorry. Okay. And then I don't have to do it since it's odd at x plus 1. It can be negative. Odd indexes, we can have a negative under the radical sign. So I don't have to do that step. Just on the square roots or the fourth roots or the sixth, the even ones. Okay? So it's just x is less than 7. So that's the last one. Example. Okay? Not too many again. Yesterday wasn't too many. Today's not too many. But I don't think this section's been that difficult. What do you guys think? Be honest. You guys thought the last two were really hard. I don't know why, but I guess they were for some of you.
What time is this period then?
I don't know. It's on the door over there.